Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. The Jewish people accost Moshe, complaining that they have no water to drink. God tells him to speak to the rock, which will then give forth water. But Moshe, frustrated, instead strikes the rock. As a result, God tells Moshe, you will not enter the land of Israel with the Jewish people, since you hit the rock instead of speaking to the rock. How can such a seemingly small offense cause Moshe to not enter the land? It seems so arbitrary. He still gave them water. How can such a small deviation have such catastrophic consequences? Hitting and speaking to the rock were not simply two different ways of procuring water. It was two methods of Moshe interacting with the Jewish nation, and it represented two forms of leadership. Moshe led a group of slaves to freedom. He took a traumatized generation and gave them purpose. He taught them the Torah and tended to their every need. Along the way, he navigated their constant complaints, their infidelity with the golden calf, and their lack of faith in entering the land of Israel. Numerous times he pleaded before God to spare the fledgling and floundering nation. Moshe's leadership was ever present. It solved every one of their problems. It smoothed over their missteps and overcompensated for their deficiencies. It was the leadership that the Jewish people needed as they left the oppression of Egypt and braved the dangers of the desert. But now, after 40 years, it was a different generation. They were not a people anymore. They were a nation, preparing to enter into the Holy Land and general society. Moshe's hitting the rock represented the overpowering and sweeping leadership model, the one where a leader's sheer charisma and greatness forces the people to respond in kind. But this generation needed a different type of leadership, a speaking type. One that would engage them and help them, but allow them to still make mistakes. One that would guide them without overpowering them. This is the radical idea of Mashiach energy. It's us learning to navigate the darkness by ourselves so that we are finally able to illuminate and fully transform the world into a holy place. If Moshe was still holding our hand, the transformation would be incomplete. Moshe can't bring Mashiach, it must be us. In other words, Moshe hitting the rock was an indication that he was too great of a leader to bring the Jewish people into the land of Israel. They needed a softer leader, one that would allow them to fall and fail, so that ultimately they would finally learn to walk on their own. A prominent community activist with a very close relationship to the Rebbe did not wear a beard. The Rebbe once asked a different chassid, a friend of his, to try to influence him to begin growing his beard, but with one condition. The chassid could not tell the activist that it was the Rebbe who had sent him. The chassid attempted to convince his friend, but to no avail. The activist, fed up with his persistence, replied, if the Rebbe told me to grow a beard, I would grow a beard immediately. But you trying to convince me will never work. The chassid immediately went back to the Rebbe and begged for permission to spill his secret. All I need to do is mention that the Rebbe is behind my request, and he will begin to grow his beard right away, the chassid explained excitedly. But of what help would that be, asked the Rebbe. He would simply be growing my beard on his face. I want him to grow his own beard on his own face. Put differently, to truly help someone, we must put them on their feet, not on our shoulders.